Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today is Monday. It is around 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, actually. And I wanted to let you know that tomorrow's workshop is still open and active. We are taking people left and right tonight. Today will be the last day. I'm going to close it down tomorrow and we will go from there. But today I wanted to do a training on, and again, I love using ChatGPT to just kind of see how smart it really is. And so I asked it today, what are the top 10 steps in protecting yourself when you are dealing with high conflict people? And so we're going to dive in and see what they have to say. So for those of you watching, please let me know, are you coming to the workshop? Are you thinking about coming to the workshop? Thank you, Darcy. Again, tap the screen so we can get this live out there to as many people as we can. I know some people might be coming home from work, or hopefully maybe had the day off to spend with their kiddos before all their kiddos go back to school. Thank you. Please go back to school. So let's dive in to see what ChatGPT has to say about being the top 10 steps to protect yourself. The first one, it says to secure legal representation. Okay. Why? The acknowledgement experience that the lawyer or attorney is going to have is going to be beneficial to your case. And I can't stress this enough. When you're dealing with high conflict, it's really hard to represent yourself. I told a short story yesterday, so I won't go into it today, but the idea that you're going to represent yourself and go in there and be able to not only conduct yourself law abiding and talk as your own attorney, but then also the other half of that, be ready for what high conflict people do, which is talk out of the side of their mouth and say outlandish things, and to be able to not only be focused on your case, but then at the exact same time, be focused on defending yourself on all of those accusations at the exact same time. Thank you so much. So that's the part that's really hard, is to wrap your head around, yes, you might be able to go in there and be pro se and take care of yourself and handle yourself appropriately and do the things you need to do for your case. But the underestimated portion of that is being able to counter everything that a high conflict person and or their attorney is going to throw into your case. So I don't disagree with what ChatGPT says is the number one thing. Number two, it says, and I'm doing these in real time with you guys. Number two, it says document everything. And now here, like, it doesn't give any detail as to what, but I will just tell you, using an app is my first words of encouragement. My second one is to make sure that you're using an email that is just for your divorce. My third bit of advice about documenting is keep the categories, and then inside each category, keep it chronological. My fourth bit of advice about documenting is really, honestly, don't make it your life. Don't make documenting like what you do every single day. Now, some of y'all are dealing with some crazy ass people, and there probably is shit to document every single day. But you have to ask yourself, will this be actually beneficial in the midst of my divorce? Or is this just me journaling? Is this just me logging shit? I want to make sure that it is valuable information. Okay. Now, once you start seeing a pattern, maybe they always cuss at you on Fridays. Maybe they always undermine you at exchanges. Maybe they always, don't pay for half of something. When you start to see a pattern, absolutely document it. I saw an attorney talk yesterday. And I always love when I come across TikToks from attorneys, because I watch them and I want to think, is this person good? Is this person going to be giving good advice? And this woman yesterday, she worded it in a way that I'm going to steal from her. And she said something like, you have to be able to show the contrast between you and the other parent. So it's not necessarily you saying, parent over here is bad. This parent is bad. It's saying, Heather is blocking. I'll reach out to her, Scott. But it's not just saying over here that this person is bad. It's saying, look at me. Look how different I am in comparison to said parent over here. So I want to make sure that you're doing the same. So I need less bitch and moan over here and pointing out the obvious, that over here is wrong and over here is bad, versus over here is happening, but over here is happening too. Let me show the contrast between the two of us parents. That's what I'm hoping your documentation, aside from the asterisk of abuse, horrible neglect and things like that. If it's just a different in parenting styles, I want you to be able to eloquently showcase the contrast between the two of you. Okay. Maybe this person, doesn't have any discipline or structure or love language at the house, but you do. Maybe this person doesn't value sports and medical appointments, but you do. So it's not saying this person never takes the children to the doctor versus this person chooses not to participate in doctor's appointments where I have chosen not to miss any doctor's appointments. Roll Tide. All right. So I like that. I like that ChatGPT is saying document number 2. And if you aren't using ChatGPT yet in your divorce, what are you waiting for? Like it's worth the upgrade in the ChatGPT world if you can afford it, and just ask ChatGPT certain questions. You can't get legal advice, but you can at least get some strategies, and you should be cutting and pasting your text and messages back and forth into ChatGPT and telling it to act as if they are a judge and business professional. There's a whole bunch of prompts that my bestie Leah Marie from Mindfully Ready gives out. She sells a $7 guide that's really beneficial, and it teaches divorced people how to use ChatGPT appropriately. So if you want that, you can go to SamanthaBoss.com and find her links there. But again, workshop tomorrow. We are literally 24 hours away from the workshop, and we are down to, again, I opened it back up to another 200 people. We are down to 17 spots. 17 spots. Okay. Establish boundaries is number 3. Okay. Establish boundaries. And this is really hard because high conflict people love to thrive off of chaos and drama. And that's where they want to live. They want to live where they have total chaos going on at all times. They love to keep things sporadic. They don't like consistency. They don't like schedule. They want to be able to just fly by the seat of their pants and make irrational thoughts and changes to schedules, be able to change their mind. And you should be able to, know that the change is coming and feed off of. They are so irrational. And so if you feed into that, like I did the first, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, where I constantly thought, okay, I'll just give in because it's easier. I'll just do what he asks because it's easier. I'll just go ahead and make that happen because it's easier. And I lived by the policy of nobody understands. I have to do this. I made that excuse all the time. You don't get it. I have to. Otherwise, what? He's going to make my life a living hell. He's going to talk shit to me. He's going to be mean to me. He's going to tell the kids. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And what was I really doing? I was training him to treat me that way. Because what would I do? Give in. So I was training him to treat me shitty because my only reaction that I ever showed was that I gave in. So if you were him and you're sitting there going, I really want this to happen. So what should I do? Well, last time I treated her like shit, she gave in and gave it to me. I was training him to treat me like shit. That was the boundary I was showing him, that if you push my buttons so far, I'm going to give you what you really want through the harassment, through the text messages, through the bullying, through all of it. And my therapist was like, you've literally trained him to talk down to you because then he gets what he wants. And I said, no, that's me being the bigger person. That's me being nice. That's me being the better co-parent. That's me putting my kids first. And she said, oh, really? What if I asked him that question? I was just like, oh, shook on like how much money I spent on therapy. I'm like, worth every fucking penny learning that lesson. Learned it a little late in the game, not going to lie, but wish I would have learned it sooner. Okay. Number 4, and the reason you're coming on Tuesday to the workshop, focus on your parenting plan. You have to have things like holidays and how you transition from house to house and decision-making and communication and all your vacations and all the things, the medical decisions, the extracurriculars, the religious part of it, all the future mediation that you may possibly have. All of that kind of stuff has to be in your parenting plan, which is a custody agreement, which is a memorandum of understanding. Everybody calls it something different, but here's the deal. Like I said last night, every single person that's listening that's going through a divorce, every single one of you is going to end up with a parenting plan. What it says is up to you and your ex and attorneys. You guys have to create it. Someone is creating this. Whether they hit print off of a template off their computer or whether they sit and customize it with you, someone is creating it. Why shouldn't that be you? Why shouldn't that be something that you get to customize and make specific to your children and your situation? Like as I'm live over here on Facebook, I have somebody saying, I'm a paramedic. Okay, they're a shift worker. They're working 24 on, 24 off, or 24 on, 48 off, whatever the schedule is, 12 on, 12 off. If they have a schedule that's not the typical 9 to 5, their parenting plan needs to be custom. I guarantee she doesn't work a Monday through Friday. So her parenting plan has to be custom to fit her lifestyle and her job description. How many of your attorneys are taking the time to customize that portion of your parenting plan? And that's just one part of your parenting plan. And that's why it's so vital on Tuesday's workshop that you come and listen on how to get your attorney to be on your side and get them to do those things for you. Number 5, protect your finances, freeze your accounts, run a credit report on yourself, know where you're at the second you say the words, I want a divorce. Now, if I were you, again, finances are not my specialty. I don't pretend to know them really well, but I do know enough to say that I want to know where all the skeletons are financially, where are the bodies buried, where is all the money, bags of money sitting? What do I have my name on? What do I owe? What is mine? What is not mine? What is ours? What is not ours? I want to know everything. I'm going to start paying attention to the mail. I'm going to start asking questions. I'm going to start getting involved in bill pay. I'm going to start really paying attention to what comes in and what goes out. How does that get paid for? Where is our insurance out? How much do we owe on the house? How many cars do we have? Is my name on the title? Where do we get insurance for our cars? I want to know as much as possible because here's what's going to happen. You're going to go to your attorney and they're going to ask for all of this. And if you don't have it, you're wasting valuable time. You got to make sure you go and get that information early on so it's all ready to go and you have it all in an Excel sheet that you hand over to your attorney and you say, hey, here's what I have so far. Here's the starting point so far. You need to know this information. This is your future, your life. And you sure as hell don't want to trust your ex who you're about ready to piss off by saying you want a divorce and not know what's happening. And the other thing is I would be screenshotting any joint accounts every other day, if not at least every Friday, to watch to see if there's a big chunk of money that leaves my account. You have to make sure that you know where your money's at. I have clients whose exes are using all of the money. I have exes who take some names off of accounts to where somebody doesn't have access to money. I have people that stop paying their mortgages. I have people that stop making their car payments. I have people that go crazy when someone says, I want a divorce. And if you've watched the movie Enough with J-Lo, you know that anything is possible. These people could turn on you in a second, and you want to make sure that you're financially smart and responsible, and you have some money set aside for a rainy day, for something like this, where maybe you get kicked out, maybe you have to go live somewhere, maybe you don't have, the mortgage being paid. Do you have enough money on your own to be able to pay this? But marital money is a very big obstacle when dealing with a divorce. What happens to our marital funds? Who gets to be in charge of those? Who gets to use those? Those are all really great questions to start asking your attorney immediately before you even file. What's going to happen here to all that. Number 6, and again, we're doing our top 10. We asked ChatGPT, what are the top 10 struggles or steps, top 10 steps that if I'm going through a high conflict divorce that I should be doing to protect my ass. Okay. So I asked ChatGPT that. Oh, number 6, this is really good. Prioritize your mental and emotional health. Making sure you seek self-care, therapy, support groups, have somebody to talk to. Okay. I see a lot of people using the internet to talk to. And while, again, I think that's therapeutic for me, my case is over and done and my kids are adults now. I don't like the idea of coming on and using social media when you're still in a custody battle. This is why we need coaches. This is why we need other support staff on call to be helping us through this process and not using strangers on the internet. Okay. I'm all for being inside a private support group like we run the next chapter. That's really great for moms to jump into. They're getting trainings every week. They get Q&As and they have the ability to book clarity calls with me and Leah Marie, my business partner. But you have to have some type of support besides just your friends and family, because they're all going to get burnt out, okay, on you talking about divorce. You want to make sure you're really protecting yourself and getting somebody on staff, whether it be a divorce coach or a therapist or both, and helping you with that emotional and mental state of mind. I talk about this client a lot. She went through a really hard weekend where she was struggling to put down some boundaries with her ex. She's never done it before, and she was freaking the fuck out. And as she was freaking out, she was wondering why her son was overreacting and throwing tantrums and was, kind of a hot mess. And it was because mom was reacting. Mom had physical anxiety showcased, right? So the kid picked up on that and was acting out, even as a toddler. And so she called me when I was getting my nails done earlier, and she said, I was so calm because that boundary thing worked. And it worked out in my favor this time. And I felt so relaxed and so calm. She goes, I had the best time with my son. And she goes, I really understood that where my anxiety is reflects how he acts as a child, as a young child. And it was such a good light bulb moment for her and many of you to understand that if you're constantly anxious and walking on eggshells and, flipping out and overreacting and wondering when the next bomb is going to, explode, or wondering when the next shoe is going to drop, you have to realize your kids can pick up on that energy. And you have to really make sure that you are presenting yourself in a way that your kids can feel okay about you and not feed off of your anxiety. And I didn't do a good job of this. I was a walking like, oh my gosh, what's in the mail today? Because snail mail was still a thing back then. Email was not being used in divorces. And I would, open that manila envelope and it would just be like, holy shit, here we go again. It's about ready to get real. And I would read it and then my kids would be in the other room and then I'd start being upset. Then my kids would come in and I'd be like, come on, like, leave me alone. I need to work on this. Like, I need to call grandma. I need to call my attorney. Like, you need to go play. And then my kids were like, oh, mom opened bad mail again, and these were young ages. They were feeding off of my tension. So this is a really big one that I made the whole course about was divorce proof your kids. And in that, you're going to learn about how to make smarter decisions so your kids aren't feeling the ill effect of this divorce. Okay. So important to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to keep your kids out of that divorce as much as possible. And the biggest thing I can tell you on that is to get yourself a really good education so you know what to worry about and where to show your concerns and what to not worry about. Okay. It's a big understanding of everything. All right. What is number 7? Avoid reactive behavior. Okay. So again, this is what high conflict people do. They are going to threaten. They're going to threaten you to court. I'm going to tell my attorney. I'm going to tell the judge. I'm going to take your ass back to court. You're not going to have the house. I'm taking the kids. You're not going to get shit. They over the top threaten you with allegations, threaten you with anything they can think of. Why do they do this? Well, first off, it's the only trick they have up their sleeve. But secondly, they are using fear to get you to comply. All right. And so you have to be completely aware that this is happening and not react to the behavior you're receiving by giving into it. Right. Just like my ex-husband, he would come for me, and I'd give in. That was my reactive behavior. You're going to come for me. I'm going to give in to you because I can't handle it. Just like this other client, he was coming for about, you need to do this. You need to do this. He was calling her a bad mom. He was calling her a bad co-parent. He was threatening to take it to court. He was threatening to take it to the judge. He was threatening. And then what did he end up doing? Calling and saying, okay, fine, you can have the child. And it's like, had she given in, he would have won and she would have never practiced boundaries. We have to realize just because someone is saying something doesn't mean it's true. Just because they're saying you're a bad mom or a bad parent or a bad dad doesn't make it true. From their perspective, you are probably a piece of shit. From their glasses that they're wearing, you are not a good person because they can't stay a victim if you're not. So it's very easy for them to say, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. Why are you believing that? I'll tell you why, because your self-esteem is down, because you've been abused, because you've had trauma. You have to make sure that just because they say that you're big, fat, and ugly and a monster doesn't mean you believe it to be true. We got to stop this reactive behavior. And just because someone wants to pick a fight with you doesn't mean I'm going to participate in the fight. Just because someone wants to come for you at an exchange doesn't mean I stand there and go toe to toe because I look like just as much of an idiot as they do. This is where we can't let them get our goat. Before every occurrence, I teach my people to do a bingo card. If I'm going to an exchange, in the last 3 times I've been to an exchange, we've had a big, huge blow up. I'm going to build a bingo card before I even go. And on the bingo card would be like, well, he's probably going to bring his girlfriend or his mom. He's going to get out of the car. He's going to come up to my window. He's going to demand I roll my window down. He's going to yell at me. And on the bingo card is also, I'm going to pull the window or keep the window up. I'm not going to roll the window down. I'm going to not say anything. I'm going to stay in my car. I'm going to pull away. I'm going to leave my kids. Like, I'm going to plan out what's going to happen. And why do I do those bingo cards? Because I want to be prepared for everything. I want to know my ass is protected. I want to know that I've done everything possible to foreshadow something that could happen. And I already know how I'm going to react. Okay. So you got to make sure that you're doing that to where you can control your reactive behavior. A lot of y'all overreact when you don't see it coming. You don't see it coming. And I don't know why you keep looking at everything with just your glasses on. You have to look at things from their perspective. Their perspective is dangerous. Their perspective is outright crazy town. Okay. You have to think like them in this battle of divorce. And I call it a battle because it fucking is. You have to say, okay, this is how I think I would handle it, but we're also dealing with crazy over here. How do you think they're going to handle it? And what will they say? And how will they conduct themselves? And what will happen from their angle with their experience or their, background or their trauma? How will they do it? Because again, I was a slow learner on this one. I thought there's no way I married a man that would treat me this way. There's no way I married a man and had kids with him. There's no way honest to God, I did. I sure did marry a person that was just like that, and now that I have my rose colored glasses off and I can see everything for what it really is, it makes a lot of sense. Our lives and upbringing were completely different. So it is no question as to why he treats me the way he does. And the reason that I never really understood why people could do that. I was raised different. Our lives were different until we got together, right? So it's really important for you guys to take a step back and do that. That will really help you in your reactive behavior. Number 8, educate yourselves about personality disorders. This is something that I think we use the N word too much. I think we use narcissist way too much. I think it's an overabused word. I had an attorney duet me or stitch me the other day that said, Sam used the word narcissist and only this small percentage of the world is narcissist. And I 100% agree to that I guess I don't 100%. I agree to that to a point, but I think if we actually did some testing on more people, we'd realize there is a higher percentage. But the other part of that is just because someone isn't diagnosed, check the box narcissist doesn't mean they don't have trauma and doesn't mean they don't have tendencies and doesn't mean that they're not an asshole and will stay an asshole. It doesn't mean they're not stubborn and an asshole and going to treat me like shit for the next 8 years. They don't have to have a clinical diagnosis for me to know they're bad and they're bad for me and they're toxic as fuck. We don't need a diagnosis. That's why I did a TikTok yesterday about doing these psych evals. I'm happy that you guys are spending money on them if you got the money to do it. But even with the diagnosis, what's going to happen? I don't know. Most of you, nothing. Not much will happen in your case, but you got a diagnosis. And so I'm really worried for a lot of us, we have a diagnosis of something, but it doesn't change our case. It doesn't help our children. But reading up on it, I will say, dabble in 1 or 2 books, dabble in 1 or 2 podcasts. If you think your ex is a certain way, follow a few people on here that will help you understand that viewpoint, because again, it's not yours. And when you can get into a honest, radical acceptance that you are different than your ex, and your ex will always take things as the victim mindset and come for you and try to control you and disagree with you. When you can wrap your head around that radical acceptance that nothing you will do will ever be good enough, it's like a complete game changer. It's like it gives you all the control back, because their textbook pattern when people are like this. They can't help but be the same person over and over and over again. Think back to all the fights you had with them in your marriage. What did they do? They screamed and hollered and belittled you till you broke and you cried. And you've probably said, I want to be done with you. I want to leave. I want to break up. What they do instantly? They gaslit the shit out of you to be like, oh, well, I'm the one with problems. I'm so sorry. I guess I need therapy. I got a lot of work to do. Please don't leave me in this time while I'm trying to work on things. I can't live without you. I need help, and I'm going to go get the help. And they never get help, and they never change. They change for about 48 hours and they go right back to the same person. And then you guys act like everything's fine. And then 2 months later, the same fucking big fight happens over something being left on the counter that wasn't supposed to be left on the counter. And we're right back into the same fight. You have to make sure that you see these patterns, because these same patterns will exist in co-parenting. And that's why you should all be parallel. And how can you learn about parallel? Come to the workshop on Tuesday. Let's see, what else do we got going on? I keep putting the link in here. You guys can go to the link tree and join and get yourself signed up. What is number 9? Gather support. So again, the next chapter is a good place. pulling your team together, a divorce coach, it says, somebody who specializes in high conflict. The next chapter, link in bio, is where I'm sending everybody to get that support. We do weekly calls, weekly trainings. Today we had a finance person come in and do a training on how to get your bills all in order and how to get yourself out of debt. We do Q&As twice a month. We do support constantly, so that you can post a question and get probably 5 to 10 people answering your question for you. So it's a really good way to spend some money to get some quality help. Number 10, prepare for court, because that is what's probably in your future. If you are high conflict, you are most likely going to be having someone in your life that is going to take you to court on everything. And why is that? Why is it that high conflict people have to go to court? It's very simple. It's because they can't comprehend the idea that they have to give in to you. So they won't. So you have to have a judge tell them absolutely everything. They're never going to settle with what you say. Even though you're like, oh, dude, this couldn't be any more black and fucking white. They have to have a judge tell them. So that's why it's important for you to understand everything that it is that you want to offer and get into this parenting plan, into the settlement agreement, into the financial affidavit, whatever it's called where you're from. And you have to make sure that your attorney presents it. So when all of you are interviewing an attorney, you need to ask them, if you know for sure you're a high conflict case, how good are they at court? Is court their specialty? Because every attorney is good at something. Some are good at all the paperwork. Some are good at litigation, meaning going back and forth between the people, between the attorneys. And then other people, it's like, are good in the courtroom. You know, my last attorney, the most unorganized woman, she had legal pad after legal pad all over her office, files all over her office, everything like that. But when it came to court, she was mesmerizing. She was like, it was like a show we were watching, right? And so it was amazing to understand that not every attorney is created equal, and some attorneys are going to excel at certain categories of the divorce process. And in the interview process, if your attorney can't describe what they're good at and what they're bad at, then you need to understand that that might not be the best attorney for you. I want an honest attorney. I want somebody that's going to tell me the truth. I want somebody that's going to say, hey, if you can stay really organized, I'm going to be a badass in the courtroom. If you can do this, then I'm going to take care of this. Hey, as long as you know how to do this, if you can prepare a bunch of questions for me for court, I'm going to be great. If you can take really good notes during court, I'm going to be great. Okay. So you have to make sure that you pick an attorney, especially dealing in a high conflict divorce, that knows how to perform, because that's where high conflict people want to live, is in the courtroom. They think that if they take you to court, a judge is going to label you as crazy, a bad parent, and they're going to get custody of the children. And so it's just so important that you have that attorney that understands that a lot of this is going to be playing defense, but they also have to play offense. They can't sit back and just deflect. They have to be able to throw a little mud on it as well. They have to be able to say certain things. All right. So I'm kind of impressed with what ChatGPT had to say. I agree with a lot of things that it said. I thought those were 10 really good steps. Yesterday, we went through the top 10 struggles. Today, we went through the top 10 steps. Again, I have that workshop on Tuesday, which is 24 hours from now. So what we're going to do on Tuesday is we'll meet at 4 o'clock Central. Again, it's all recorded. We'll go for about 2 to 3 hours. I only have it for a few more spots. I'm going to keep it open the rest of today and midway through tomorrow. Then I'll shut it down. And if you miss it, that's okay. I'm going to do it again in February, but I think this one's going to be really special because it's my first one back. I took November and December off and I changed it. I spent all day yesterday redoing the PowerPoint. And I think what I'm going to do is take all of these trainings right here that I've been doing the past week and put those in the email to go out to those people as well. So they can just have a ton of content on how to protect themselves in high conflict. Because I want people to really just be overly prepared for this journey. And I think over communication about what to expect, where you kind of are expecting everything to happen to you, and it won't be such a shock. I think a lot of us that are in high conflict, when, you know, the outlandish comments happen or over the top things happen, we get so like, we get so caught up in the audacity that we forget to keep moving forward and keep trying to move forward. So that's the part of it that I want everybody to understand is tomorrow's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to everybody. So again, Facebook, I'm going to duck out. I'm going to stay over here on TikTok for a while. So if you want to come back over, that's great. I appreciate you all, and I will see you all soon. Bye, everybody.